let's move on to some actual on-the-field news, because for once, we actually got on-the-field college football news on Wednesday afternoon, and that was that Jamie Newman, the guy who was projected to be the starting quarterback at Georgia, announced that he is not going to play college football this year. He will instead step away from college football. He said it was COVID-related, and he will focus on the NFL draft. And obviously, look, this has been a big topic because throughout this week, we've had a couple players announce they are not playing. Jamar Chase, most notably at LSU. LSU had a couple others announce that they were going to withdraw from school. And there's been a few. The kid from Memphis, the running back, he announced that he's pulling out of school, And so with Jamie Newman, though, it was a big story. And it was a story where, if you guys have listened to this show long enough, you know that I like to sometimes look at the story behind the story, right? And I try to figure out, is there something else to this story? Because this one didn't jive with me, okay? This one does not make sense to me, that a player of Jamie Newman's stature, he comes to Georgia for the bigger stage, for the opportunity to play SEC football with the best teammates that he'll ever play with. For people who don't know, he played at Wake Forest last year, was really good, 26 passing touchdowns, a bunch of rushing touchdowns, really good player. He decides to come to Georgia for this big national stage. And then he decides, after 6 weeks of practice, that he's pulling out and he's not playing college football this year. And so to me, it doesn't really make sense. And obviously, this is all speculation. This is all my opinion. And maybe there is a logical reason. Maybe he knows somebody who had it. Maybe he knows family members. Maybe he knows somebody who's been hospitalized. I don't know. But I will say this news was genuinely shocking. Seth Emerson, who covers Georgia, maybe the best Georgia beat writer there is for The Athletic, even tweeted, "Wow." So you know this was a surprising piece of news. And so to me, I'm trying to look at the story behind the story, and I think there might be a story behind the story here. And that story, and yes, I just said the word story 72 times, but the story behind the story, I believe, may be that Jamie Newman knew he wasn't going to win the starting quarterback job. And why do I say that? It's because, ironically, as I just spent all this time talking about USC football, Jamie Newman wasn't the only transfer that came into Georgia this offseason. For people who do not follow closely, JT Daniels, who actually was the starter at USC to begin last season, he gets hurt. He plays one really good half, gets hurt, ends up having to miss the rest of the season. He loses the starting job to Keaton Slovis. And so because of it, elects to transfer. He too ends up at Georgia. And him and Jamie Newman are in a QB competition. Now, I will say, JT Daniels has not been medically cleared. He's coming off an ACL injury. But when I saw this Jamie Newman news, the first thought that I had immediately was, I just wonder if he wasn't going to win that starting quarterback job. And you could say whatever you want, and maybe I'm totally wrong. And if I am, I'll own it. Like if something else comes out, I will own it. But when I look at this situation, I look at Jamie Newman. Like I said, he is not a guy that is projected to be a super high draft pick in the NFL draft. I saw some draft experts say if the season went well, maybe he could sneak into the top 3 rounds, but he was projected as a 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round draft pick. And so I'm just wondering, was he about to lose this starting quarterback job to JT Daniels? Because when I look at this whole situation, you have a guy who is going to be a 4th, 5th, 6th round pick, needed this year to improve his draft stock, okay? And then, as I said, comes to Georgia. He goes through the beginning stages of spring practice before COVID-19 eliminates this season. He comes back after COVID-19, works out with the team all of June, all of July, all of August. Or I guess June they weren't back, but July, August, September 2 hits, and all of a sudden, he decides to quit. And so to me, it doesn't make sense, right? Like if you're scared of COVID, that's fine. I will never tell you what you should or should not feel. I will tell you my opinion based on the facts and knowledge that I have. If you're scared of COVID, I have no problem with it all. Completely respect any player's decision to sit out. As I said, there was a kid, Caleb Farley from Virginia Tech. He had family members who got it. He did not want to risk it. He sat out. The kid from Memphis, I believe his name is Keith Gainwell. Same thing. Family members got it, didn't want to be exposed, decided not to play. And maybe that's what happened with Jamie Newman. But it feels weird to me that Jamie Newman would go through spring ball, come all the way back, come to Georgia because it's this great platform where he's going to play with all these great players, go through 2.5 months of practice, 2 weeks away, 2.5, 3 weeks away from week one, and he decides to quit. Doesn't make sense. And to me, it feels like there is more to this story. It will be interesting to see if anything else comes out. Kirby Smart did release a statement saying essentially that, we fully support him. We've never told any player that they have to play. He'll always be a Georgia Bulldog. We wish we could have coached him, but we're going to support him. But to me, it just doesn't make sense. It will be fascinating to see if in the coming days, weeks, months, eventually Jamie Newman is cleared to play college football, if JT Daniels is cleared to play college football, but something just doesn't add up here. It feels weird that at this point, after all these practices, you would opt out.